Hello, this is Max Drake. I want to talk about Python and my home electricity prices. I did an initial one based on some historical data that I'd actually got, to the point where when I was paying a bill for 1 week, I could predict whether the next week's was going to be higher or lower than that one, because the bill that I was receiving was from 2 weeks past, so that I could get historical data using this particular thing, table through here, and downloading a CSV to actually compare the 2 weeks to see if I was going to be paying more for my power or not, based on an average consumption and stuff like that. I then came across this site here, which is WITS, which is Wholesale Information Trading System. Now, they trade on the New Zealand share market, that the retailers who are selling power to the consumers can go and forward purchase electricity from certain areas at a fixed price. So therefore, on the share market, they can all bid for how much power they're going to use and set the price in the future. Now, as part of this one through here, you can get this for free. Just go on and log on to the website and you can do it. And it shows you the stuff for the main areas: Haywoods, Benmore and Otahu in Auckland. Haywoods is in Wellington and Benmore is in the South Island. But it doesn't give you any more granularity than that. If you actually ask for an account and get an account, you can actually take this dashboard a bit further, such that you can actually get down to your own personal substations and actually have some filters that you can set up before to actually do, and I'll show them later. The other thing that I just wanted to know on the dashboard, what you can actually do as well, because New Zealand's based on we've got a lot of hydro dams, so we've actually got a lot of water that's generating our electricity. As long as they're in good capacity, the electricity is cheap, whereas if we've got to do them by coal or liquid fuels and stuff like that, it's going to be quite expensive. So I did find, I was trying to find some information on reservoirs, and there is an API for it, but you have to pay, and it's managed by the New Zealand Stock Exchange. But I did actually find that on the daily thing, it gives you an indication of what the hydro situation is. So it can actually say, look, the storage is actually at 83% of maximum. The storage on average is 119%, so it's 20% above the 90-year average for this time of the year. So this is looking good, and there's some inflows such that it's being replenished. Although we're actually using some up, they are being replenished at that point in time. They give some indications of temperatures, through average temperatures for the, not too sure if that's for the week or not, but it's a sort of an indicator of if it's really cold, then obviously people are going to end up using a lot more, and we're sort of heading into winter. We're in the South Island here. Sorry, we're in the southern hemisphere. So therefore, this is a good look forward to see whether reservoirs are high or low. Because we're high at the moment, it's looking good for the next few months. Anyway, right into winter. So if we look at the charts through here, this is what we actually have. So if I just come in and we look at the personal one, so this is one I actually have to log in. So if you log in, you go to a login page, you log yourself in with the ID and password. It then takes you to the dashboard side. Then you actually got to go and click on the prices menu, and when you get onto the prices menu, you can then come in and select a filter to actually see what you want to view. Now, the green is what the generator is predicting is going to happen. The purple is what people have paid in the share market for the quantity. So these are the prices that they fixed to how much they paid. And this is what actually happens, and this is what people are actually consuming. And you'll find that the yellow line tends to track reasonably well with the purple line. So they seem to be predicting reasonably well at this point in time. And because the generation is taken out for about a week, it's sort of guessing, and it's based on the historical data. So to a certain extent, this gives me some indications of what's actually happening in the day. Now, this is actually set to a few days, but normally I actually just have it on today and tomorrow, and if I just do a refresh on that, it'll just give me a 2-day view on the data that we actually have through there. So this is really good data, but I've actually got to go through several steps just to actually be able to view this. And I thought, well, is there another method, or what can I actually do with the Python information? So the WITS actually has an API that you can sign up through, and it cost anything. You just request, and then they either approve it or don't. And so in the dashboard, we can get that information. So we actually want to represent that. So what I actually want to do is the process that they use in their code to do a request, if you're calling their API, first of all, you have to create a token. So therefore, you have to give your client ID and your client secret code or password, and you've got to give that to them, send it off, and then it gives you a token. Once you've got that token, that token's active for 2 hours, you can then make a lot of API calls. So if they need to charge anything, they can just look at the token, look at who the client is, and they suddenly think you're using way over what you should use, so we're going to charge you for that and that. Now, I'm not using very much for them, so it's not particularly good. So I don't really have to worry about that. So on that one there, so the first thing we do is we actually go and get the token. Now, when I tried to get the token, I actually had some trouble with this at the beginning, and I ended up emailing them and said, oh, it doesn't seem to be working, I'm waiting for this, you unlocking something. And they said, oh no, it's all unlocked. You're just doing it the wrong way. You're supposed to be using an auth request instead of a basic request. And I said, oh, well, how do I do that? So I asked Bing Chat, and Bing Chat came up with exactly, oh, well, this is what I need to do within the request. I needed to use this auth one, and so my client ID and things weren't in the normal standard header. They were in this auth header thing, worked perfectly, you know, and it's wonderful. So this is where I set up those sorts of things in here. I needed this auth request, and then I needed to give one thing, the 2 keys that I actually had, and I had to go and send it off to a certain URL. Now, on I think a previous one, I've hidden a lot of that data in another one in a file that it goes and reads. So my private keys and all of that you can't see, and so I've got them. So it checks the credentials and does it. So it does the authorization, and then once I've got that token, I can then use that as the authorization for doing all of the other queries. So I query the 3 different lines that we actually have on that chart. So I'm querying the API for the RDT, I'm doing the ARM for the PRS, which is a price responsive schedule, and I'm doing it for the WS, which is the weekly dispatch. So that's what they think is going to generate during the thing based on the 90-year one. So I'm getting those 3 things as 3 separate API calls, and once I get those API calls, I get the JSON in return, I write that to a file, I can then take that, put it into a data frame, and send it back out as a CSV. It's just that I like to do little baby steps. I can now combine this overall and just bring it in, convert the JSON into a data frame, and just add all of the stuff into a data frame, and then put it into one final CSV where I actually combine all of that information through. So at this point in time, I've got it in lots of baby steps, but you can simplify all of this further down as well. But I do find if it breaks, it's easier to track each individual bit, so you're not having to track the whole code. You can just track the stuff, so you can simplify it later. And I've just got these ones which are rather lots of files coming through there. But at the end of the day, like each one, this is for the WDS. This is all the information that comes through there. Way too many headers or column headers, so I'm deleting half of those out of there. So at the end of the day, I ended up with a very simple one which actually has a date time, it has a WS price, it has a PRS price through here, and it has the RDT price only up until 5 o'clock in the morning. So I've got that, I've taken all that data, or the API has done that call, cleaned it all out, simplified it down, got a single table through here. So I've got one CSV file through there, and then I've got a separate operation. So this is just mainly to do with all the API calls, getting all the tools, getting all the stuff, and getting me the data into a format where I can then make a plot, and then once I've made the plot, I can then take the plot, modify it to a PDF, attach it to an email, and send it off to myself. So in this point in time, this is what I'm doing through here. So if I just go and run this one now, you will find, if I just do a refresh on that, that we've now got a little PDF file. Boom. And that is the data that's generated through. Now, a couple of things with this, and here it's emailed me that data for today through there. So a couple of things I just want to highlight through here. So we've done the process and we've generated the plot, and then we've sent the plot out. So when we've generated the plot, instead of just printing it to view, I've actually created it into a CSV so that I can attach it to an email. Now, one of the things I just want to talk about here, I use Bing Chat, and if I just open up Bing Chat, I'd actually pasted all the data in here from the plot. So when I come into the part of the code through here, which just deals with the plot. So from here, fig AB equals plot.subplots, and I've got in the library at the beginning, we're using matplotlib, from matplotlib we're doing this. So I've actually just pasted this, copied this information out through here, anything to do with the plot, and then I've just put it into Bing Chat, and I've said this, and I can suddenly say, and then for the code, show how to make y-axis label text color red. So I've then got it on most precise on the chat, on Bing Chat, and then it kind of suddenly says, well, this is what you actually add. So add this line after this line. And so I did that, and now I've actually got that information through there quite nicely. So I was able to just go through and tweak all the way through. And I tell you what, I've been playing with matplotlib before, and I found it to be extremely frustrating. All the little things that you have to do and the way that they're set up, there's a little bit quirky. There's the labels, and then there's the tick labels, and then there's this, and I had all of these ones through here, and each time I could step through and increment it and suddenly saying, well, how do you fix that, how do you fix that, how do you fix that, and it just kept on regenerating the code each time. And I suddenly thought, if I'd have done that, I would most probably be at it in a day or a day and a half, just getting that plot to the way that I wanted it. As it isn't quite, but what I did was I tried to put quite a few tweaks on that. I tried to get the legend on there. I tried to have these at certain intervals. I tried to do colorize. I tried to have these ones because there's so many intervals, and I wanted the inner grids and stuff like that, and I wanted the pen thicknesses, line thicknesses, line colors, and line types and things like that. I wanted to play with all of those so that I've now got a comprehensive file. This isn't necessarily going to be my final one. I most probably tweak. I find this a little bit too fine. The only thing is, though, it works fine when you zoom in. There may be some other additions that I might want to add to this file. But I found that once I'd actually put in the code of what I was doing in the process and said, this is something that I want to add to that code, and then I can actually suddenly saying, add for code above, add x-axis title called datetime color red, and it'll generate something through me there. And I found just doing these little tweaks, putting the code in, and here it comes through, and it's done that. Set date time there. I will set day into the following line, modifying that label, AB set X label. Okay then. So if I just go into the, well, they should actually have the X label. Where's the X label? X label B out 2, and if I just run that now, just close that off, and let me just refresh that, get that through. Still, I think the label, so on that one there, I can actually come back and say the X label title is not visible in the plot area, and it'll do something. And I found a couple of things happened to where they disappeared or they went backwards, and they kind of said, oh no, switch the lines. You could try just the bottom margin of the plot. Line of code before. So if I just go into there and before that line is great, it tells you where you're supposed to put the things because you're an idiot. So it's saying before that one there, V, save, run, and we'll see if something happens. We just close that, going to write over it, and there, we got it. Cool. So and it's happily emailing me all the latest ones. So the nice thing with this, from the point of view, is you've got to be on your PC to actually come through and check this and get it. Although this data is very granular in a way. The other thing is this is sort of doing, you'll see a lot of little zippings up and down, because this is maybe taking readings at every 5 minutes or maybe even 10 minutes, some of them. So when the stuff coming through the API, they're actually chunked into the half hour, which is what they actually build for later on. Now the nice thing with this is that I've now got that, that's the latest WITS one through there. So if it comes through on my phone now, I've actually got that, and if I just rotate the data, I've now got that on my phone. So I've got that throughout the day, and I suddenly out walking the dog or something, I suddenly, oh, what time should I be doing this? And then I can actually quickly look at this and get that information. So at this point in time, 5 o'clock in the morning, this is actually generated. I've got a task schedule set up for those two processes. One runs at about 5:30, which actually does all of those CSV files and everything and gets me the one that I want. And then the second one actually sends the email, and I set that at 6 o'clock, so it comes in. So when I get up and read my mail and everything in the morning, it's already there for me that I can actually interpret that and make the decisions that I want. So suddenly I'm got information on what's happened with the electricity. Now this is only for the day, and maybe I need one for looking out for the further. So when we were looking at this one here through the period, this one goes out a week, and maybe I need one just to give me an indication of when things are going to be going up, so that I can anticipate that sort of thing, and suddenly saying, oh, well, I need to do certain activities which might be using a bit more energy, like I might be doing a bit of cooking or this and that and the other. Best to do it earlier on in the week or at weekends, because this is where the power is shifting to. So during the week it's going to be a lot higher, at weekends it's maybe lower, so maybe I should actually plan to do that sort of thing there. And if those sort of patterns start becoming consistent, then you're suddenly thinking, okay, then that's when I need to plan these ones for. So you can see these peaks, and this is usually the 5 p.m. Demand time, and then these ones a bit flatter in the day. So if there's times in the day when it's slightly flatter again, those are times when you're doing, but you know roughly where that pattern's going to be. Whereas if you're just getting a bill from before, you don't know. You can't make decisions because you've got nothing showing you what the pattern is going to be in the future. So I haven't really. I've sort of built this up and I've started running it. I've got to go on to a different project now, so, or maybe some work. So I just wanted to have this video before I put down the project at this point in time and had all that information out there. So I put out my code on those things, and I'll give a link to this particular article that I did on it. And that was just another thing. I did another one on Python for an ephemeris, and the ephemeris was just a table inside a PDF. This one I actually wanted to do to generate the matplotlib into a PDF, so that I could join the two PDFs. So later on maybe I'll do a star chart or a planet chart to show where the planets are at certain times of the evening, so that maybe I do them at different hourly intervals, so that when you go out you can actually just see, oh, that the moon's supposed to be there, that's supposed to be there, that's supposed to be there. But I haven't developed that particular project yet, but it's one that I want to kind of follow on from. So this, in some ways, although it's another project that I'm doing, it's also handy to come across to sort of like cross-fertilations. Okay, from this one, I'm going to end up with a matplotlib. I want to convert it to a PDF. And the other one, you know, I had a CSV file and I wanted a PDF table, and I got that. So now I've got things in PDF. Now I've got to think, can I join PDFs together? So that's maybe the next exercise going through. So I hope you found that of interest. Thank you very much for watching. If you found it useful, please give a thumbs up. Thank you.